Appreciate everyone taking the time and coming. It's a tremendous day for Clemson women's basketball, and really excited just to formally introduce Coach Shawn Poppie and his wife Regina and family here. Certainly with the approval last week by our Board of Trustees and announcement, certainly Shawn has been out plenty as far as he's met with the team and program and putting his stamp on things very quickly, but certainly the formal remarks here today and time with Shawn is really exciting and important. Listen, this coincides with just tremendous growth of women's basketball. It's undeniable. Watching games last night, certainly over the past couple weeks, couple years, looking ahead to Final Four next weekend, really significant growth in that sport, and really excited for Clemson to again double down on our anticipation, our excitement, our investment in all 21 of our programs, but in particular for this day, women's basketball. And we're just bullish on what Clemson women's basketball has been, but what it can be. There's plenty of banners and rafters, banners up in the rafters here, 16 NCAA tournaments, 27 postseason appearances, 12 top 25 seasons in our 49-year history here at Clemson for women's basketball. Coach Jim Davis, who is unable to be here this morning or this afternoon, but is a big part of that, certainly was one that I counseled on through our search, and he's meant a lot to this program and this university and will remain to do so. But listen, it's Clemson, right? And as we embarked on the search and what we found and as we navigated through our aspirations for the program, just came back to the ceiling is really high there. We are bullish on Clemson women's basketball. Again, Clemson, the brand, the Tiger Paw, and what we've been able to do as a university, as a community, and certainly for those support resources within our department, resources, investment, facilities, and ultimately people. So we couldn't be more excited to welcome a new staff led by Coach Poppie and family and others who are here, I know, to help lead the next era of Clemson women's basketball. This jersey that I'll present to Coach Poppie here shortly has a 50 on it. As I just mentioned earlier, we are embarking on our 50th anniversary of women's sports here at Clemson, led by Clemson women's basketball as well. So a real seminal time and seminal year upcoming for Clemson women's basketball, let alone our entire department and our women's sports here at Clemson. Significant interest in the job, which is something that we anticipated and we're excited about. But as you go through the process and talk to those inside the industry, so to speak, and those as you're going through a search, it was probably even more than we anticipated as it relates to the excitement, what we learned, the interest from all corners of the country in this job. And again, we think that speaks to some of the notes that I just shared about the history, let alone our anticipation and excitement for what the job has been and can be. Kelly Gramlich, who may be here, maybe not, is certainly one. Sharpshooter Kelly is here. And there's Jacob in the stroller. Kelly, thank you for being here, former sharpshooter, incredible presence within the sport, within the industry, and I've leaned on Kelly a good amount throughout our search here. And Kelly, I really appreciate that to arrive at Coach Poppie, but let alone everything you've meant for Clemson women's basketball in the sport. So thanks so much for being here always. A couple other quick notes. Listen. We had to move quickly through the search. Felt like we wanted to get ahead of the market. There's been a lot of transition. It's certainly part of our job as we navigate a search and look at candidates to act efficiently and certainly balance and recognize the transition time for the women's program and our student athletes that are here. And that's something we don't take lightly. And so we wanted to move expeditiously, but ultimately finding the best coach for this program, and feel like we couldn't have found a better fit than Shawn Poppie. The feedback that we got, solicited and unsolicited, on Shawn from all corners as we were going through the process was really remarkable. It really was. And you get that from time to time in searches for whatever the sport may be, but it was really unique with Shawn as we went through it. I feel like if you look at the resume, so to speak, just the experience set, couldn't have a better fit for Clemson. Time as a head coach, winning the Southern Conference twice in his 2 years there, playing in the NCAA tournament. Prior to that, as an assistant coach in the league at a program that certainly has moved the needle for their women's basketball program like we aspire to here at Clemson. And then ultimately time in the upstate, with his time at Furman and USC Upstate, and then having played collegiately here in the upstate at Limestone. And so that just checks all the boxes, so to speak, from a piece of paper, which is important. But then you meet the person, and that's what really matters. And from our very initial conversations with Shawn, and as we went through the process, it was just so natural in us getting to know each other, Shawn getting to know Clemson, and Clemson getting to evaluate Shawn as a fit here, and it was just a really smooth and natural recruitment as we went through it and ultimately evaluation. I'd like to thank Stephanie Ellison-Johnson, who's here, for your partnership in the search. Stephanie, please help me thank Stephanie real quick. Stephanie, your stamp is throughout many things here at Clemson and Clemson Athletics, and in particular women's basketball, and you will serve as a great partner with Shawn and staff as we grow. Certainly President Clements and Max Allen were part of this, and our board of trustees as we officially approved the hire. Couldn't do it without the support and alignment that we talk about so much all throughout aspects here of Clemson. And President Clements was a closer in this, as he often is on a number of different recruitment fronts, certainly from a staff standpoint. He has been and will continue to be a big part of all athletics here, but in particular Clemson women's basketball and for Coach Poppie. Couldn't be more excited for the fit, as I said earlier, for Shawn, his wife Regina, who's a former collegiate athlete and has roots here in the Carolinas and the upstate, and their 3 boys, of which the Neffs are also partial to a family of 3 boys, Kai, Caden, and Cameron. So with that said, I have a jersey to present to Shawn. We're gonna have a light show here, and please help me welcome Coach Shawn Poppie and his family here to the Clemson women's basketball family. You got that. Crew's good.
All right. What a welcome. It's kind of been par for the course during the last week. What an unbelievable welcome from Clemson family. It's been much appreciated, as obviously we uprooted my wife and 3 boys, or will be here in the next coming weeks. But first off, I'd like to thank Graham, Stephanie, the rest of the team for believing in me to come lead this Clemson women's basketball program. From the very beginning, I could feel their love and passion, not only for this university and athletic department, but specifically for the women's basketball program. They sure helped make this a very easy decision for me and my family. I'd also like to thank President Clements for his support in his decision, along with his leadership. It's very clear his vision. The synergy of this place is amazing, and I think it starts from the top. I had a really good conversation with him while he's chasing Brad and them, I think, around the country. Unbelievable year, Brad, and thanks so much for everything you've done in a short time for me. It was a lot of fun to watch. I'm beyond excited, humbled, right, to be leading this program back to where it belongs. The history of Clemson basketball is rich, and I'm honored to be the head coach of Team 50. I just had the same experience at Chattanooga to lead year number 50, and I thought it was really special, especially as the head coach, where you hear stories and you see names and all the rich tradition that comes through, but you get a chance to put faces that what makes this place so special. I look forward to sharing them stories in this upcoming year, but also a chance to get to meet and greet some of the ones that have come through here. I had a chance to see Kelly. Thank you so much for coming, Kelly, bringing your son. It's part of who we are around here as family. So you're obviously more than welcome. I appreciate all you've done for this program and really for my career as you followed really my path as we got to know each other quite well from my time at Virginia Tech. I'd also like to make sure to give credit where credit's due. As I mentioned, family is everything to me. My wife, Regina, who walked out with me, you'll know her very, very quickly, the woman in the stands screaming at the refs by their first name. So that's her. but she's the rock of our family. She sacrificed so much for me, my boys, to help me reach my goals. As a coach and a family in this business, this isn't a profession, it's a lifestyle, and a lot of sacrifice goes in for us to be able to do what we do. She's my biggest fan and my biggest critic, right? Asking me why we're drawing certain plays up or why we didn't press or whatever it may be. But she's also my biggest fan. And we look forward to raising our boys here in Clemson. What an unbelievable place to live. The people have been phenomenal. And we'll go ahead and win a lot of games while we do it. Speaking of that, this is home to me. I was born and raised in a small town in Illinois. Basketball got me out and brought me here to the upstate. So I feel like although I was born and raised in Illinois, I grew up here, right? 18 to 22, playing at Limestone College. We snuck over here and sat up in the nosebleeds at football games. Limestone didn't have football, so we come over and cheer. And that was kind of my first initial realization of how Clemson was special. When we walked in for the first time, it brought back memories of CLEM, and my son says, "How in the world do you know that, Dad?" And I said, "Well, we had some good times here back when I was young." And then, following that, I spent a number of years here in the upstate. I coached at Limestone College, my alma mater, for a handful of years. I had an opportunity to go to USC Upstate, and then followed by Furman. And that's, again, back to the growing up stage. It's where I met my wife. My oldest son was born in Greenville. So when he got the news that we were taking this job, he says, "Well, I get to go home, Dad." So I think we're all from here, but he was born here. And then again, my path, I was at Virginia Tech for a number of years. So we traveled down here, and I got to see how special this place was from afar. But now it's truly our home. And I look forward to restoring energy back into the women's basketball program. I think with the resources in place, the administration and leadership, we got the foundation that we can be special here. I've had a front row seat to this league for quite a number of years. I believe it's the best basketball conference in the country, top to bottom, especially with the new additions. And it's going to take a lot of work, I understand that, but we're ready for the challenge ahead. Before I share the vision, though, I do want to have one more last thank you. Mark Wharton, our athletic director at Chattanooga, gave me my first opportunity 2 years ago. I was given an opportunity to lead a program that was 7-23 the year before we got there. And he believed in our vision of culture, developing young people, and building them up. And in a short time, and sometimes it doesn't happen as fast as it did, we went 20-13 our first year, followed by 28-5, back-to-back Southern Conference tournaments champions, which allowed us to go to the back-to-back NCAA tournaments. The unfortunate part, we got paired with back-to-back years Final Four appearances, so didn't get a good draw. But I'm super appreciative of the time. They were nothing short but phenomenal for us and our staff. We sell relationships, culture, and development. But the last thank you's got to go to my young ladies back in Chattanooga. Without them buying into us the minute we stepped foot on campus and pouring their heart and souls into our program over the last 2 years, I wouldn't be here today. I'm forever indebted into them, and I'm proud of the culture that we left. As I stand here as your 8th head women's basketball coach heading into our 50th season, I couldn't be more proud and ready for the task at hand. Again, I know we have a lot of work ahead, and it's going to take all of us. The amount of support sitting in here, I'm very thankful for. The media coverage, the obviously other head coaches, support staff, this Clemson community. It takes all of us. I ask for your continued support in so many ways. As I promise, our ladies will feel it and they'll appreciate it. We'll put a product on the floor that'll make you proud, not only on the court, but off the court. I think you're going to see a team with togetherness, and you'll see a team that loves on one another, a true team, one that we kind of just witnessed a couple days ago, where in today's world of individualism and everything that's going on, the reality is you still need a team concept, one that fights for one another and puts their heart and soul for what's in front on that jersey. And that's what we're looking to do. As we rebuild our roster, I look forward to building a program and not a team. Again, with the transfer portal and everything that goes into it, you can try to have quick results. And don't get me wrong, we're going to try to compete with the best right away, but we're not going to cheat steps. I want to build a program here, something that is going to be special and one that you're proud of, one that we're recruiting talented young ladies who are willing to sacrifice for the betterment of us. That's how you win, and you win big. With that said, a cornerstone of our program will be development. Again, I mentioned my time at Virginia Tech. My biggest mentor, Kenny Brooks, poured his heart and soul into me for a number of years, and we took over a program there very similar to what's here. So he referenced in his press conference at Virginia Tech a sleeping giant, and I believe that's what we got sitting right here. We got one that's ready to compete with the best of anybody. But with that said, we got to develop, right? Develop young people on and off the court. It starts with the relationships. A lot of people talk about it, but they don't want to be about it, but we will be about it, right? We will have honest conversation, hold them to the highest standard with a level of accountability, but we're also going to get on that court and work with them. I think even as the head coach, to be able to step on the floor and work on their games one-on-one and continue to build a relationship with them. If you've been around any 18 to 22-year-old and you sit on a court and shoot and just get them talking, they'll tell you about anything. You learn so much just in that time together. And I also think it continues to build a trust in us as a staff. I got a couple of my assistants that are in the audience today, and the rest will be joining us soon. But we're all on the same page. We're working to make them as confident and uplift them as much as we can so that we can put a product, obviously, that's fun to watch. My playing days are getting further and further away. I know you guys are looking at me like I can't get on the court, but I can still get down there, just more of in a box. But we don't have any magic potion, right? It's not something we can sprinkle and think we can wake up tomorrow and have it fixed. We gotta have players with a chip on their shoulder, willing to buy in. And as Coach Brooks used to say, meet us halfway, right? We'll give you the world, you meet us halfway. Recruiting and development will change how we play offensively when you think about strategy. If we're doing our job developing young people, we will continue to evolve. We'll change how we play based on the talent level. 3 is worth more than 2, I believe. I'm not great at math, so we will try to shoot a number of threes and have a roster that has the ability to stretch the floor. You know, I think when you got talented people on the floor that can stretch the floor, it makes the game a little bit easier. Space and pace is something you hear quite a bit in the game today. Obviously, I think it all started in the NBA, and it's trickled down, obviously, in the men's side. I think if you watched last night, Caitlin Clark does a pretty good job of spacing the floor with her ability. And that's what we're going to try to do, right? Develop talent to where we can space the floor and play together. Now, on the defensive end, again, don't quote me on this, but I've been pretty stuck in my ways on that side of the ball. The last handful of years at Virginia Tech, I was a defensive coordinator, and we were top 15 in the country in defensive field goal percentage, playing 99.9% man. But I understand there's time and place, all right, for mixing in some zone or pressing. But I believe on the defensive side, as a fan, you can see what your genuine culture is inside your program, of competing with one another, for one another, and having a level of discipline. And that's what we'll be, a pack line, keep the ball in front, play together. My 2 years at Chattanooga, we did the same thing, and again, finished top 15 in the country nationally, whether it be in field goal percentage, defense, or points allowed. I don't see that changing. The offensive side depends on who says yes out of this portal, I guess, in the next couple of weeks as we're rebuilding a roster. As I say all that, the reality is this: we're ready to compete. We're going to battle every single possession. Clemson has a incredibly high standard and expectations. I'm excited for that. We're ready to do our part. We want to still be playing right now. Right? It's hard to watch in this tournament and you're not playing. We want to play, and we expect to do so. I'm excited to get this thing started. I think that, again, for us, we know there's a lot of work ahead. We're ready for the challenge. We're going to need all the support we possibly can. I look forward to connecting with our alumni base. It's been a really, really neat reception for the amount of text and direct messages and emails I've got from alums, and I look forward to connecting with them. They're welcome home. That's what makes this place special, is the people. It did not take us long to realize that. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Graham, again, we won't let you down. Stephanie, thanks so much for everything you've done with me and my family in the short time. It's good to see so many faces. And again, on the other side, I feel like all I've been asked is what can we do to help? We hope to return that favor in the near future. It'll be a really special part of this Clemson family. Go Tigers. With that said, I'm a heck of a lot better when you can ask me questions and I can just respond to what you want to know instead of talking about myself. So with that said, I'll open it up to any questions you may have.
Hey, Coach Poppie, David Hood with TigerNet.com. Obviously, you've been in this building, you've been around this program. Did you ever walk in at any point and think, man, if I ever had a chance to coach this program, that would be great? And then what was it like when you were first called to ask if you were interested?
Yeah, I tell you what, when the renovations happened a handful of years ago, and I remember walking down that tunnel, what an unbelievable job they did. I always thought, again, that this place was special. I told you about my time in the upstate. When you're around Clemson people, they bleed the purple and orange, and they make sure to tell you about it, right? And so from afar, you were always a fan. Again, I came to football games. I loved the upstate. Those things aligned, but I didn't know the people, right? We sell the same thing in recruiting that we're going to have. I mean, this building in here is unbelievable. You look around campus, we have any resource you can imagine, and that's great. But the reality is the people inside the buildings. And for me, outside looking in, I thought there's no doubt we could make this thing special, but it took the people, right? For me to understand why people bleed these colors is because it's the people inside of it. And so for me, I think everything's in place. That's what makes it exciting. This is home to me. And yes, all those things put together is what makes this thing so exciting. I'm not going to lie, in the sense of how I operate, I've always been a put your head down and work kind of guy. We had a really good team at Chattanooga, 28-5, and we're getting ready to go into an NCAA tournament, and you do get a call, which, again, you pinch yourself, right? It becomes a little surreal that Clemson would be interested. And like I mentioned, it didn't take too long a part of a conversation of their love and passion for this university, for our whole athletic department, and specifically women's basketball and their vision. And when those things aligned very, very quickly in an initial conversation, you became very, very excited. With that said, we still had a task to do, right? We were trying to go compete against a really good NC State team who's obviously in this conference and now headed to the Final Four. And it was trying to figure out how to balance that while there was still so much excitement for this opportunity, but I had an opportunity also to lead a program of young ladies into the tournament. So as soon as that finished, it became an opportunity to turn the page and bring ourselves here, engulf ourselves into this community. And again, we're super excited for the opportunity.
Beth Hool from Fox Carolina. Everybody will tell you I won't need a microphone, but we'll use it for good measure. You mentioned opportunities. A lot of people reached out to Chattanooga stations looking for video of you, and they were shocked because they expected you would be going to Virginia Tech in this moment. Just that opportunity ahead of you and what made this right over what a lot of people expected from you.
Yeah, you know, there was no secret that there was potential move at Virginia Tech. We loved our time there. My family, we still have a bunch of friends there. You know, feel like we played a part in helping build that program. With that said, when I heard everything that was here, this is home to us. Blacksburg we visited for a handful of years. This felt like home, but also the excitement and the vision of Graham and his leadership made it, in a sense, a no-brainer. While I don't know what's going to happen at Virginia Tech, but it came to the point where it didn't matter. Right? This is a job that we wanted to be a part of, and so as all that stuff was taking place, our focus was here, because I thought this place could be very, very special, and it felt like home.
Hey, Coach Mark Whiteman, WIFF. Welcome to the Upstate. Welcome back to the Upstate, I should say. In this day and age of roster building, it is so much different with the transfer portal. As you look to identify the first players of your first team here, what will be your selling pitch as you go into the portal?
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you. And thanks for all the questions and everybody here. It starts with I got to know my current team. You know, when we took over the program at Chattanooga, my first opportunity is to get to know who's here and learn them. Who are they? Obviously as basketball players, but more so as people. Again, I mentioned culture is a big part of what we do. And so I had to learn them first. We've had a handful of meetings. I had a chance to meet with them when I first arrived on campus. And then most of them we've had numerous one-on-one meetings since then. So I could feel where they fit. Can I help them get what they're looking to do? While also understanding what our standard is going to be here and what we'll hold them to. And do those things meet? That then tells me what we can go out to look for. I'm not the guy that's going to go and just go get 12 basketball players, right? We want different positions and different talent levels in the sense of skill set so that we can try to put a puzzle together. You know, I think when you have a bunch of the same, it's hard to figure out. I'm not a very good coach when I look down and just keep subbing in and out, right? I want to put different pieces that can align and play together. And as you know, we got a lot of openings, right? I think we can start by selling opportunity, right? A chance to come in here and play at the highest level. You know, with that said, we're again, it's a short time in that portal. I call it speed dating, really. And it starts, for me, most of these calls is not the first time I've talked to whoever it may be. Recruiting, most of these I've already had conversations. Maybe it was at my time at Virginia Tech. Some may have been my time at Chattanooga, or you're just, again, it's a business, right? You're connected with somebody in their circle. So we're trying to sell who we are as people, mixed with this building, right? Mixed with this campus, Clemson family. I think all those things together give us a really good landing spot for people that are in there. As far as what that looks like, we know we got to put our head down and go to work. We do have a roster to fill, and we'll get there.
Hey, Coach, Will Vandervoort with the Clemson Insider. Wanted to ask, what's your plan to get the community and the fan base excited about women's basketball again at Clemson?
Be available, be open, give back. I think it's a two-way street. I mentioned asking for support, and we got to flip it and do the same thing in return. We got to get ourselves out in the community. We got to get ourselves on campus. We got to be open, right? And I think Austin, who's the minute I stepped foot on campus with communications, feel like I've been on a parade, right? And it's been an unbelievable welcome. I do think there's an excitement. And he keeps asking, are you sure? Yes, right? We're an open book. Come on in. Be a part of us. I think with how we represent ourselves in a way that makes our fan base proud is also another way to invite. We got to capitalize. I think Graham mentioned it was hard to hear in the tunnel, but I know we talked about it in this process. Women's basketball is at the forefront of national attention. I think the Sweet 16 games were the second most watched in the history of the sport. At one point early on, they had sold more Final Four tickets on the women's side than the men's side. I'm sure that, I don't know if that's changed, but I know that was a number at one point in the last couple weeks. We're getting national coverage for the first time. We're in every home. And I think it's a wonderful time to capitalize on that movement between that and then the momentum inside our own campus. Again, I keep mentioning Brad, but what they just did to go to an Elite Eight, it can be done here, right? I understand it takes time and to do it the right way, but if you do it the right way and you're welcoming and you give back in the sense of us to this community, I think that it feels like there's a pride in our program. We're putting something on the court that is fun to watch. Winning helps, right? Everyone win and they will come type deal. But I think for us, it's how we do things and being welcoming and understand that we are going to do our part as well to give back.
Hey, Shawn, Pete Hannity.
Good to see you again.
How you doing, buddy? How did you evolve as a head coach the past 2 years after your many years as an assistant?
Yeah, I think that the reality is this: we're all still learning. All right, we're all still growing, and I made plenty of mistakes along the way in my short 2 years. Patience is probably the biggest thing I got to work on. I'm a passionate coach with a lot of energy. A lot of that comes, one, I love competing, but more importantly, I want it so bad for the young people that are pouring into us. You want them to get what they deserve. And I think that with that passion, maybe a high level of what I'm good at, but also could be something that maybe you got to calm down at times because of not, in a sense, having enough patience. But I think we're forever learning, right? I think if you can look in the mirror, there's plenty of times if you talk about X's and O's that we would change. I think that, maybe you reach out to more mentors at times. But what I do know is I'm very confident in what we do and how we do things. I know at this level, again, I'm coming from the Southern Conference, but I've been in this league. I've seen what it looks like. And I believe I had one of the best mentors in this business in Kenny Brooks, and still do. I guarantee he's texted or called during this time. And so you lean on people that you truly trust and do it the right way. I got a cheat code in my own building now that helps. So I think you give perfect intent in everything you do with the realization that you're not going to be perfect. We talk about humble confidence quite a bit inside our program as well. So there's a confidence level we can do this. But we also got to understand we're going to make mistakes along the way, and we'll fix them, right? And we'll get better.
John Blau with the Post and Courier. You talk about women's basketball obviously being something everybody's watching. Dawn Staley's in the same state at South Carolina.
She
program.
is?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
What do you think? How do you kind of put into perspective competing with her? Do you have to embrace that opportunity to kind of compete with that program?
Yeah, I mean, that's the best of the best over the last handful of years. I don't know if she's lost a regular season game in 2 years in a row, and I'm not sure they'll get beat in the next couple weeks. She's done an unbelievable job up the road in Columbia. I think for us is at some point, yes, you're comparing yourself to others, but I feel like when you focus on yourself and what can you do to win and to make your program better, the rest takes care of itself. When you're always trying to look at who's around you and can I do it that way or that way, then you lose the true version of who you are and what you believe in. I'm probably not going to recruit the same. I'm probably not going to have the same X's and O's. I think for us is we're going to go be the best version of ourselves. And I think when we do that and we build it the right way, we'll be able to compete with anybody. But I also, that's not to disrespect because she's done an unbelievable job. I was in the upstate when she got there and got it started. But I also know it took a little bit of time to do it the right way. And so for me, again, I have hats off, a level of respect for her program. But the reality is, for me, I'm going to take care of Clemson, and we're going to be the best version of Clemson.
Hey, Coach David Hood again. The team that you have here now, when you met with them for the first time, what was your message to them?
Trust in us. Again, I know that their world's been turned upside down the last handful of weeks. I just went through the same experience 2 years ago when you walk in that locker room and you're talking to 18 to 22-year-olds that committed or signed to play with a head coach, and that has now changed. And then we're coming in, first time ever meeting and greeting. And so my first thing was trust. Trust in us that we have big hearts. We're going to get to know you. Here's what our standard is. We are going to be big believers in culture and doing things the right way. But if you do that, I promise you're going to have a group of people up in them offices that are going to fight for you to make you better. Not only as better basketball players, but better people, right? And so that's been my first message because it's hard, right? It's hard with what they're going through, and it's going to take time. I don't expect it to be like that, but I do believe in the short time I've been here, the amount that are coming through the offices, it tells me that they're open to it, and vice versa. Right? I'm a believer. They chose this institution and this program for a reason. I want to get to know them, not based off anything that's happened the last couple years. Who are they as people? And do they fit in something that we can help better them? And then vice versa, and in return, we become a better basketball program.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about your time at Chattanooga, obviously a program that has produced a number of coaches who have gone on to have incredible power conference success. Westmore comes to mind. What is it about your time there at Chattanooga that you feel has properly prepared you for this job?
Yeah, really good question. first and foremost, they love women's basketball in Chattanooga. You think back to the time with Pat Summitt inside the own state, there's a level of love for the sport. Although national attention is getting it now, they've loved it for a long time. And so you think the amount of support you get at a mid-major institution from people in the stands, obviously financial support, as everyone talks about nowadays. But I also think they did a really good job of picking head coaches, right? Wes Moore is one of the best. Jim Foster was at this level and finished his career there. So they've had some really darn good coaches. For me to be in that same conversation, if I could follow up with Wes Moore's career, with what he did there, and then in turn when I get here, then I think we're going to be pretty darn good here in the next handful of years. But I think a lot of it goes back to the support and fine leadership, right? We had some leadership there that believed in women's basketball, that it played a big part in their athletic department. I feel the same thing here. That's why we got to fill these seats, right? We got to get support, but we got to do our job too. With the product we put on the floor, we got to be available, as I mentioned up here. I think no better time than now, right? While again, this sport is on the rise, there's also an excitement. I mean, my 3-year-old can't go anywhere around town with saying, "Daddy, look, there's your picture," right? And it's been an exciting time for the welcome, and I do think there's a buzz right now in our community with women's basketball, and I think there's no better time than to capitalize on that.
Darian Carter, the Greenville News. Coach, you mentioned Clemson is ready to compete now. What does success look like after year one for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I actually had that in my interview process. You must have stole Graham's notes. You know, for me, I'm not one that puts a number on things. You know, I think the reality is this: 300 and however many teams in the country, everyone wants to win a conference tournament or national championship. So if we walk in there and that's the goal, well, we got the same goal as everybody else. I think for us, I call it the it factor, right? I think when you come watch us, if you're around our program, you will feel it. And I think if we feel it, right, how are we loving on each other? What's our energy level? Are we competing? Are we doing the things that it takes to win games? The results will take care of themselves. And I think when you focus on the little things every single day and do things the right way, I have full confidence in who we are as coaches and what we're going to do, that the wins will come. What does that number look like? I'm not putting a number on it, but I think when you come sit in the stands, you will feel it. I'll share a little story because I like to talk. We actually, ironically, my team from Chattanooga practiced over here in the practice facility about a month and a half ago. And as I've got to know our current team and try to understand who I am, I mentioned the story, and every one of them said, "I know." And I said, "You know, you weren't in there." They said, "No, we heard it and we felt it." And we all thought, "Wow, that looks like a lot of fun." And I tell our teams all the time, you're in an open interview every day. You don't ever know who's watching. And you think back, or whatever, 4 or 5 weeks, here we are, we left an impression. And that's part of that it factor that I'm talking about that we hope to bring. Any more questions? Come on, man. We just sat up in the office yesterday, and you want to come here and be quiet.
Coach, Facts and Childress, 105.5 The Roar. What would your message be to the fan base for a reason to support this year for women's basketball? We talked about the national prominence of the sport right now, but why Clemson and why Clemson women's basketball?
Well, why not? We're going to be exciting. We're going to be exciting to watch. You're going to see a team that plays together, like I mentioned. There's going to be some energy around here. Again, it's not about me, but I'm passionate. I have an energy level over there, and I think it starts from there, and it leads all the way through from one all the way to however many you got on your roster. It's going to be a fun time to be a part of this program, and I think there's no better time than right now. Again, we got to do our job. I completely get it, but our arms are wide open for whoever wants to come join, because it's about to be a lot of fun.